Hey everyone, James here again in a Tech Talk, and just wanted to show you where I'm at now. I've uh, basically installed the power supply and all the cables, as well as I hooked up the cables to the from the case to the motherboard. So basically, if you look down here, I got my HD audio. I got my little buzzer just for beep codes basically. Just my front panel, power button, reset button, um, hard drive LED and power LED, and then over here in this far right corner is the USB connection to the Corsair cooling system. And what that does is it allows me to control the fan and temperature of or the fan speeds and the temperature of the CPU from my desktop through a proprietary software that Corsair has made. So I've plugged in over here my 24 pin power connection, and then over here I've also plugged in my 8-pin power connection. I've attached all my fans to the Corsair cooling system, and I've also connected, let's see, my USB 3.0 header, and I've connected the SATA cable, which I will later connect to my solid state drive. I was contemplating connecting the 3.5-inch drive base to SATA cables. That way, when I'm ready, I can, if I really want to, I can throw in a couple large, 1 terabyte or 3 terabyte drives just for a lot of storage, media storage. I haven't really decided yet if I want to do that because I do have my own media server, but I figured I would get it ready just in case I ever did. But all the SATA cables that the motherboard came with, they have one 190-degree angle on one end, and it doesn't really work out too good for the way that drive cage is set up. So I need to get just straight SATA connections for that with no angle connectors. But I'll revisit that later on if I do decide to go ahead and install those drives. Let's see, where else am I? So basically what I'm ready to do is install the solid state drive, install the video card, throw the panels back on the case, and get it started up and start installing software and so on and so forth. What I will do, as well as later on, once I get everything installed, I'll do some benchmarks. That way you guys can see what kind of performance I'm getting out of this build, and I'll show you how well the cooling system is performing and give you some system temps. So, one other thing I did was over here on the side I installed a 120mm fan, and then I also, on the top panel for the case, I've installed the 200mm fan that I'm going to be using. So I'll be plugging that in as soon as I throw the panel back on. So what I'll do first is just kind of, I'm going to readjust the camera here to a different height and just show you the drive that I'm going to be using. Let me do that here. And let me see if I can, no, I need to do it a little bit higher. Okay. So, the only item that I didn't have to pay for this build was my solid state drive, and that is because MyDigitalDiscount.com was kind enough to provide the the drive for this build for me. I've done a few reviews of their products in the past, and I continue to really like the quality of the products that they're selling. So what I got here is the BP4 solid state drive, and let me get up closer and kind of show you this so you can appreciate it. This is a 7mm thickness instead of the normal 9.5mm, so it's extremely thin, and obviously for my desktop build it's really not going to make much of a difference how thin it is, because I can definitely fit the 9.5-inch drives in there. But if you're using certain laptops such as the Lenovo X230 series laptops, I'm pretty sure that they will only allow you to install a 7mm thickness solid state drive, so, or hard drive. But so that's a good thing to keep in mind if you have a laptop and you're wanting to upgrade the drive in it. This is a phenomenal drive. It's the speeds are right up there with brands like Samsung and Kingston HyperX. I believe it's at a 540, maybe 530 read, and then like a 5 or 510 write. I could be wrong. I'll follow up this video with some benchmarks for the drive, and I'll give you the correct stats on this drive and kind of give you an idea of how it's performing. But I'm really excited to try it out, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank MyDigitalDiscount.com for providing me with this drive for the build. It was really cool of them. So far they've been the only manufacturer that has, I guess for lack of better words, sponsored me and have sent me products in the past. So really cool of them. It's really exciting being new to the review game, to have someone take and trust in me to give them a really good review for their product. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and install this drive, and I'm going to try to show you. Well, it's going to be really difficult for me to capture this on camera. I'll see if I can do it though. But basically, there's these little plastic rails that I have to put on the side, and there's nothing that really holds them on. You kind of, when you slide it into the drive cage, it's what keeps them on. So before that, they can fall off pretty easy. So let me kind of get closer here and show you. That's what they look like, and then you just slide it right into the drive cage. Now I have already run the, like I said, the SATA, the power cable and the SATA cable for this. So really all I need to do is attach those cables, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to, here, let me see if I can lower the camera here and kind of give you a view of it. Okay, let me zoom in here. So right here is the drive cage for 2.5mm drives, and as you can see, a second here. Okay, so you can see I just kind of slid it in there, and yes, so it basically the rails just kind of slide between these little grooves in the drive cage, and it holds it in quite nicely. And then when you want to pull it out, you just use these two little tabs here, one here and one here, and I don't know, maybe squeeze them together. Yeah. squeeze them together and pull at the same time, but it does lock into place quite nicely and suspends the drive in the cage itself. So I'm going to pause it real quick and I'm going to attach the SATA cables. It's not something that you're going to be able to see on video, unfortunately, because it's such a small, confined space in here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it, pause the camera, and that'll kind of conclude the first part of the video review for this drive. I'm going to string it together with a video I'll do later on where I talk about the performance of it, and I'll give you the actual stats, the read and write speeds, and temperature readouts and stuff like that. So thanks again, MyDigitalDiscount.com. You can buy this drive on their website. I believe it's $174, and I'll reconfirm that later on. But really good price for a 240 gig SATA 3 SSD. But thank you again for watching, and I'm going to pause this. My next video will be installing the video card. Thanks a lot.
Hello everyone, this is James at Innotech Tech Talk, and I'm doing a follow-up video for the review of the MyDigitalSSD 240 gig solid state drive. This is the BP4 Slim 7 series, and they call it Slim because it is a 7mm thickness as opposed to the standard 9.5mm. So this should fit just about any computer you can think of, laptop, desktop, really anything you want to throw it in that will fit a 2.5-inch drive. So I wanted to clear up a few things that I had got wrong in the first part of the video. First thing would be the price. So I had said that I bought, or the drive was going for $174.99, and it may have at the time, but it looks like as of today's date, which is 9/5/2013, they're selling the drive for $164.99, and that's a phenomenal price for a 240 gig solid state. The other thing that I had got wrong was the read-write speed. So they're claiming a sequential read of 560 megabytes per second and a sequential write of 530 megabytes per second. I would also like to add that there is RAID support, trim support, and smart support. And now I'd like to just go ahead and show you what my benchmarks are coming up with on this particular build. So I ran the Crystal DiskMark version 3.0.2, and I'm coming up with a sequential read of 503.9 and a sequential write of 399.2. That's megabytes per second. And so that's a little bit off of what they're claiming, but that doesn't bother me whatsoever, because you could run this benchmark 100 times, and each time it would come up with a slightly different number. It's hard to get solid. I guess solid's not really the best word for it, or consistent readings from solid state drives when you're doing benchmarks. As far as the rest of the tests, we're looking at, for the 512K, we're looking at 356.8 megabytes per second for read and 163.1 megabytes per second for write. The 4K, we're looking at 23.64 megabytes read, 78.22 megabytes per second write, and finally the 4K, the 4K, and that's queued 32. So what this means is it's queued 32 requests for a 4K file size to run through this test, and we're looking at a 157.1 megabytes per second and a 240.5 megabytes per second. So these are actually pretty solid, impressive numbers by any standards, and I'm really happy with the performance of this drive so far. I've been using it now for a few months, and I've not had any heat issues. I've not had any problems whatsoever, no data loss, nothing like that. It seems to be a very stable drive, and anyone that's in the market for a solid state, I encourage you to go to MyDigitalDiscount.com and pick this drive up for $164.99. I'll go ahead and include the link in the video to this site as well. And if any of you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. I wouldn't worry that this isn't, a brand name like Samsung or Intel or anything like that. Like I said, this has been very solid, very reliable for me so far. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I look forward to reading your comments.